it's surrendering to the divine really makes me feel very peaceful and takes a lot of burden
Oh,
off
good,
me.
good.
So, but I think the ethical guidelines you mentioned, I think they're really important for me, and I just don't want to end up being a bore, you know.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah.
So that's
You have to, you have to just have faith and risk
mm,
being a bore. What you might find is that you might find yourself boring.
I have been,
Yeah, but
and it
you.
shocks me. It's like you know, all the zest
The
I
thing
used to
is,
have for life.
other people might not find that boring. They might find that some people even find that nicer.
Mm,
It's just your own idea of what is um, socially, let's say, good, and
mm,
socially, let's say, not good. Okay,
yeah,
because other people, what you think is really fun, other people might think is a bit annoying.
yeah. Maybe
What you
I spend too much time with people who think that what I think is silly behavior is normal, and they really get on my nerves. I can't. And I
There
have a
you go.
friend. I can't see him anymore at the moment because
But
his
he
whole
might think he's fun. You
yeah.
can't see him because he thinks, hey, I'm cool, I'm fun. And actually, if he was a bit more boring, you actually might, it might actually, so do you see how it works?
Mm,
So I actually had this thought not so long ago about myself because, I'm far more leveled out and happy than I was, 20 years ago. And I was probably in some ways way more interesting back then. I'd have more interesting conversations. I had more dynamic and interesting hobbies and pursuits and things. But actually, what's been quite interesting is a lot of the friends we meet up with, I haven't got necessarily an attitude. People find they can talk to me. People find that I listen and that I actually genuinely care. And it's not particularly interesting, you know, but people actually really respond to that. And it's maybe different people. Maybe the people who had aligned to me before would find this Tom a bit boring. But other people find me nice, just not necessarily interesting, but just nice to be around. And that counts for something. So, you can listen. You can learn to listen. Instead of you having to be interesting, you can be a listener, and you can find other people interesting. And that can be nice for you.
yeah, it sounds really intriguing, and I think maybe I have to give myself time to get to know myself better, this new side of my personality, because
Yeah.
I think that's the foundation I need to get used to myself, that I'm new. I really had the feeling of being, maybe it's a bit too dramatic, but the whole process of injuring myself, and sports was such a big part in my life, and it had been taken away from me um, very drastically. You know, I just wasn't able to do any sports anymore. So this whole aspect of my personality that was hinged on sports had been taken away, and at the same time, through a stupid mistake, I erased all the photos of my smartphone, which was really hard for me because there were very treasured photos on it, and didn't have a backup. Now I have. And then all those things came together, and I had the feeling that maybe this is a kind of. I had the feeling. I don't want to jump. I don't want to say that. I had an ego death. But to me, it was so dramatic that it felt like something has been taken away from me that I really have to get used to again.
Yeah.
So level myself out. So maybe getting to know myself, liking myself as a more boring person is a really vital aspect of my spiritual development. I think that makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense.
Yeah. My advice would be to have faith that you're okay, without being exciting or, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to hear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. In
Yeah.
fact, it's actually quite a Western thing, I think. So my family are from India, and sometimes when you go to like a party in India, especially when I was younger, Went back to India, see my relatives, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, and it might be someone's birthday while I was there. There's so many different relatives, and you go to someone's birthday, and it often we're just sitting around in a room. Sometimes the TV wouldn't be on, there'll be no music, there wouldn't be much of a conversation. We'd just kind of be sitting there, and then someone would give some food, and we'd eat some food, and it wasn't very exciting. I thought it was boring. But that's the culture is often different, and this was just like a low-key birthday thing. You know, it wasn't like one of these really big festival things like in Bollywood with all the music and all the colours. This was just going around someone's house. There wasn't this kind of, what I've realised is that there wasn't this kind of impulse that you have to have a conversation. And in the West, there is that. You know, if you're with somebody, say you're walking down the street with someone, say you bump into someone you know, and you walk in the same direction with them, you'd usually have a conversation with them. In India, that sometimes you have a conversation, but it's fine just to sort of walk next to somebody. There's no awkwardness. Whereas I find that in the West, if you're walking with somebody, there's a sense you've got to talk to them. Or if you're having a cup of tea with somebody, or a cup of coffee, or whatever it is, or a meal, you've got to talk to them. Whereas in my experience, at least, of aspects of India, is you don't have to do that. You can just sort of, you know, just sit next to someone, walk next to someone. I've got a memory of just walking through one of the Indian villages as a child with one of my cousins. And we're just walking next to each other, maybe like 10 minutes. We didn't really sort of talk to each other. Occasionally we'd look at each other and smile. We'd just walk around. You know, it's boring, right?
That sounds like paradise to me.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly.
It's really great to hear that, because I feel awkward sometimes now.
But it is.
At the time when, like 10 or 20 years ago, I still had this mixture of being very outgoing and at the same time being very private, but I somehow matched with the conventions. And now I can't do it anymore. It's just not possible. I can't do it. I would really have to force myself. It would be like forcing myself to eat chocolate, although I don't like chocolate. It just doesn't work. So it's very nice of you to say that I should have faith. I think it fits, because that's what I need. And I think I must have faith, because I can't go back anymore, even if I tried. I'm too far gone to the good side, you know. That's my feeling. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I think that's one of the other advantages of coming along to a meeting like this, as opposed to sort of book reading and things, is that I've been through what you guys are going through to a large extent. Or if I've not been through it, I've probably seen lots of people who've gone through it, so something similar. So, you know, when Martin was saying that, there was a resonance in me. Yeah, that's what it's. I know that. I know what you feel like. I know what it feels like to sort of notice yourself becoming less interesting. I'm certainly, again, much more boring now, but I've just noticed that people relate to me differently, and I don't have to be interesting. Yeah. There's a guy I've known for a few years, and a few weeks ago he just gave me a big hug out of nowhere. He's not a hugging kind of person. Yeah, and I just felt like I just realised that he really appreciated me just being there, which was very touching, really. Because I was actually thinking, gosh, I'm a bit dull. There's a few people where I hang out with sometimes, and they've all got really interesting things to talk about. I'm I can kind of shoot the breeze with them a bit, but not like I used to. I used to be much more animated and have more interesting talking points. But I don't have to be that person anymore, so I just have some faith. It's funny how it works.